Part 1. The Silent Language of a Man in Love. What Thomas Could Not Say. Have you ever felt that someone loved you, yet they never found the courage to say the words? Welcome back to the Love and Relationship Lab, where we explore love through lived experience, psychology, and timeless wisdom. Before we begin, do me a small favor. If you enjoy content that helps you understand relationships on a deeper level, please subscribe and help our channel grow. Every subscription motivates us to research more, study great thinkers like Carl Jung and Steve Harvey, and share practical insights that can genuinely improve your relationships. Now, let's begin. Imagine this. Sanyu is going for a walk on a quiet Saturday evening. She bypasses a man, and completely, unaware that he is looking at her as they bypass each other. His name is Thomas. He isn't staring because he wants to impress her. He isn't planning the perfect pickup line. In fact, Thomas has never seen her before. But every few steps, without realizing it, his eyes want to return to her. He notices how she walks, without noticing who is glancing at her. He notices the way she smiles softly while looking at the nature. He tells himself to stop looking. Yet somehow, his eyes, though from a distance, always return. If someone asked Thomas why he kept looking, he probably couldn't explain it. But Carl Jung believed the unconscious mind often knows the truth long before the conscious mind does. And this is where many women misunderstand men. Most women have been taught to wait for words. I love you. I miss you. I want to be with you. Those words matter. But according to Jung, words are only a small part of the story. The unconscious always speaks first. Long before a man admits his feelings, his body, attention, habits, and priorities begin changing. That is exactly what happened to Thomas. Several weeks later, Thomas found himself inventing reasons to go for walks at the same time. At first, he believed it was in the evenings, where there are fewer people walking and it is quiet and beautiful. But deep inside, another reason was quietly pulling him back. He hoped Sanyu would be there. He didn't tell anyone. He barely admitted it to himself. Yet every evening, he went for walks. Jung would describe this as the beginning of unconscious attachment. When someone enters our emotional world, we think about them unexpectedly. Songs remind us of them. Places remind us of them. Even ordinary moments suddenly feel different because somewhere in the background, they are present. Thomas wasn't trying to fall in love. Steve Harvey often says something very interesting about men. He explains that when a man truly wants a woman, confusion disappears. A man may be shy. He begins making room for her in his life. That is one of the greatest differences between attraction and emotional investment. Attraction says, love says. Thomas didn't even realize he had begun doing this. He rearranged his evening schedule. He simply smiled and asked, neither of them planned it. Not just your appearance. What makes you laugh? Why? Because emotionally invested people remember details. The unconscious stores what the heart considers valuable. Carl Jung believed every person carries archetypes deep inside the unconscious. One of these is the lover. The lover isn't merely about romance or physical attraction. It is about connection, meaning, presence, devotion. When this archetype awakens inside a man, something remarkable happens. His attention changes. His priorities change. His energy changes. Thomas wasn't trying to impress every woman anymore. His attention narrowed. Naturally, he wanted to know Sanyu, only Sanyu. This wasn't because she was perfect. She wasn't. It was because something inside him recognized something meaningful inside her. Love isn't always logical. Sometimes it feels strangely familiar. Jung might describe this as the unconscious recognizing something the conscious mind cannot yet explain. Have you ever noticed how some people enter your life and immediately feel familiar? Not because you've met before, but because your soul feels strangely comfortable around them. Jung called moments like these meaningful connections. Not magic, not fantasy, but deep psychological resonance. Thomas couldn't explain why talking to Sanyu felt different. He simply knew he felt peaceful around her. And peace is often a far stronger foundation than excitement alone. As the weeks passed, Sanyu noticed something too. Thomas wasn't inconsistent. He didn't disappear for days. He didn't play games. He didn't shower her with affection one day and ignore her the next. He simply showed up again and again and again. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. Consistency is one of the clearest signs that emotions are becoming genuine. Anybody can fake passion for a weekend. Few people can fake consistency for months. That is where true love begins revealing itself. Before we continue in part 2, let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone whose actions spoke louder than their words? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might encourage someone else who is trying to understand love. Part 2. The first 4 signs. Thomas was deeply in love with Sanyu. Several months had passed since their first conversation on the beach. Thomas and Sanyu were not officially a couple yet. There had been no dramatic love confession, no grand romantic gestures. Yet anyone paying close attention would notice something had quietly changed. Not only in Thomas's behavior, but in who he was becoming. Carl Jung believed that genuine love transforms a person from the inside out. It doesn't simply create strong emotions. It changes priorities, habits, and even identity. Steve Harvey often says something similar in a more practical way. When a man truly sees a future with a woman, he begins acting like she is already part of his future. That was exactly what was happening. Today, we're looking at the first 4 signs that revealed Thomas's feelings long before he ever said, "I love you." Sign 1. She became his safe place. One rainy evening, Thomas had one of the hardest days of his year. A doctorate article that was rejected. His confidence had taken a blow. Normally, he would deal with disappointment alone. Like many men, he had been taught that carrying burdens silently was a sign of strength. But that evening, instead of going home immediately, he called Sanyu. Not because he expected her to solve his problems. He simply wanted to hear her voice. They talked for almost an hour. Sanyu mostly listened. She didn't interrupt. She didn't try to fix everything. She simply gave him space to be honest. After hanging up, Thomas realized something surprising. He felt lighter. Carl Jung believed that true intimacy begins when a person feels safe enough to remove the mask they wear for the world. Steve Harvey often reminds women that many men rarely reveal their struggles publicly. When a man chooses to let someone see his fears, instead of hiding them, he is giving away something more valuable than confidence. He is offering trust. If a man consistently turns to you during difficult moments instead of disappearing, don't overlook it. That is often the beginning of emotional attachment. Sign 2. He started remembering what others forgot. A few weeks later, Sanyu casually mentioned that she had an important presentation at work coming up. She only said it once. She assumed Thomas would forget. Almost everyone else did. The day arrived. Just before her presentation, her phone vibrated. It was Thomas. "You've worked hard for this. I know you'll do great. I'll be thinking about you today." Sanyu smiled. She hadn't reminded him. He simply remembered. Psychologists have found that emotional importance strengthens memory. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious filters information according to emotional significance. Thomas wasn't trying to impress Sanyu. His mind had simply begun treating everything connected to her as meaningful. Love pays attention. Sign 3. He protected her peace, not just her safety. Many people misunderstand protection. Others mistake it for control. One evening, Thomas and Sanyu were walking through town after dinner. As they approached a busy crossing, protection isn't always physical. Those quiet acts often reveal a deeper kind of love than dramatic speeches ever could. Sign 4. She naturally became part of his future. One Sunday afternoon, they were discussing travel. Sanyu mentioned that she had always dreamed of going for safari in Uganda. Without thinking, Thomas smiled. "For sure you'll love seeing lions, elephants in the wild." Sanyu laughed. "You've been there?" "No." "Then how do you know?" Thomas stopped talking. He suddenly realized what he had just said. In his mind, he had imagined them going together. Not because he was forcing the idea. His unconscious had already placed Sanyu inside his future. Jung believed our unconscious often reveals our deepest desires before we consciously recognize them. Steve Harvey explains it more simply. When a man begins planning tomorrow with you in mind, that's when you know you're becoming important. Thomas found himself saying things like, "We should try driving to Maryland one day. We'll have to watch that movie together. You'd love meeting my grandfather." Notice the language. Not I. We. Without realizing it, he had begun seeing life as something shared. That subtle shift speaks volumes. The difference between attraction and commitment. At this point, it's worth asking an important question. How do you know this isn't simply infatuation? Here's the difference. Attraction creates excitement. Commitment creates consistency. Attraction focuses on moments. Commitment builds a future. Attraction asks, "How do I feel today?" Love quietly asks, "How can I make tomorrow better for both of us?" Thomas still found Sanyu beautiful. But beauty was no longer the center of his attention. He admired her kindness. He respected her integrity. He loved the way she encouraged people without expecting anything in return. His feelings had matured, and mature love always moves beyond appearances. Carl Jung once suggested that every meaningful relationship invites us to become more complete versions of ourselves. Thomas noticed this happening. He became more patient, more thoughtful, more intentional. Not because Sanyu demanded it, because loving her inspired him to grow. That may be one of the greatest signs of authentic love. Real love doesn't just make you happy, it makes you better. Before we continue to part 3, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 4 signs do you think reveals love most clearly? Is it vulnerability? Remembering the little things? Protecting someone's peace? Or naturally including them in your future? Share your thoughts in the comments. We read them all, and your perspective could encourage someone else. And if you're enjoying this series, please subscribe to the Love and Relationship Lab. Your support allows us to keep researching the ideas of Carl Jung, Steve Harvey, and other great thinkers, so we can continue bringing you thoughtful, practical insights about love and relationships. Part 3. When Love Becomes Impossible to Hide. By now, we've seen how Thomas's feelings for Sanyu were revealed through trust, attention, protection, and the way he naturally began including her in his future. But love has another side. There comes a point where it becomes almost impossible to hide. No matter how careful a man tries to be, his actions begin revealing what his words still hesitate to say. Carl Jung believed that what remains buried in the unconscious eventually finds a way to express itself. Steve Harvey often says that a man who truly loves a woman eventually starts making decisions that prove it. Sign 5. He invited her into his world. One Saturday afternoon, Thomas called Sanyu. "My sister is having a family barbecue this weekend in Boston," he said. "I'd really like you to come." Sanyu paused. Meeting someone's family is different from meeting them for coffee. It means you're stepping into their personal world. At the barbecue, Thomas introduced Sanyu with genuine pride. "This is Sanyu," not "this is my friend," not with hesitation, not awkwardly. Throughout the afternoon, he made sure she felt included in conversations. He introduced her to his parents, his cousins, and even his childhood best friend. Carl Jung believed that when someone becomes emotionally significant, they slowly become part of our identity. We naturally want the important people in our lives to know them. Steve Harvey teaches something similar. He often says that when a man is serious about a woman, he doesn't keep her hidden. He wants the people he loves to know the woman who has captured his heart. Thomas didn't hide Sanyu. He wasn't showing Sanyu off. He was making room for her. There is a big difference. Sign 6. He became consistent, not convenient. Several months later, Sanyu faced an unexpected challenge. Her father became ill, and she spent many evenings at the hospital. Life became stressful. She wasn't always cheerful. Sometimes she counseled plans. Sometimes she barely replied to messages. Thomas noticed the changes, but he never complained. Instead, every evening he sent one simple message: "I'm thinking about you. If you need anything, I'm here. No pressure to reply. Some days, Sanyu answered. Some days, she didn't. Thomas never disappeared. He understood that love isn't tested during easy days. It's tested during difficult ones. Carl Jung believed that love asks us to move beyond our own desires and truly see another person's reality. Steve Harvey often says that consistency separates men who are interested from men who are invested. Anyone can be present when life is exciting, but the man who quietly stays beside you when life becomes complicated reveals the depth of his character. Thomas wasn't trying to earn points. He simply cared. Sign 7. He inspired her to become better. One evening, Sanyu confessed something she had never told anyone. I've wanted to start my own counseling practice one day, she said quietly, but I'm afraid I'll fail. Thomas looked at her for a moment before answering. I've watched you help complete strangers without expecting anything in return. If anyone can do it, it's you. Those words stayed with Sanyu, not because they sounded romantic, because they made her believe in herself again. Jung believed that healthy love helps us move toward what he called individuation, becoming the fullest version of ourselves. The right relationship doesn't shrink your dreams. It gives you courage to pursue them. Steve Harvey often reminds women that the right man doesn't compete with your purpose. He supports it. Thomas never felt threatened by Sanyu's ambitions. He celebrated them. When she doubted herself, he reminded her of her strengths. When she succeeded, he celebrated without jealousy. When she failed, he encouraged her to keep going. Real love doesn't fear another person's growth. It celebrates it. Sign 8. His actions never needed translation. Nearly a year after they first met, Sanyu was talking with a close friend. Her friend smiled and asked, "So, has Thomas finally told you he loves you?" Sanyu thought for a moment. Then she smiled. "Not exactly." Her friend looked surprised. "Then how do you know?" Sanyu laughed softly. "Because I don't have to guess. He listens. He remembers. He shows up. He keeps his promises. He respects me. He supports my dreams. He makes me feel safe. And he chooses me every single day." She paused before adding, "I've never had to translate his actions." That is perhaps the greatest sign of genuine love. When someone's behavior consistently brings peace instead of confusion. Carl Jung believed that truth carries an inner sense of wholeness. When someone's words, actions, and intentions align, we experience psychological harmony. Confusion usually appears when those three things don't match. Steve Harvey says something every woman should remember. Don't just listen to what a man says. Watch what he does. Thomas eventually said the words, "I love you." But by then, Sanyu already knew, because his life had been speaking those words for months. A lesson every relationship can teach us. Not every relationship will look like Thomas and Sanyu's. Every couple has different personalities, different cultures, different ways of expressing affection. Some men are naturally expressive. Others are quieter. Some women need frequent reassurance. Others feel loved through actions. The important question isn't whether someone loves exactly like Thomas. The important question is this: does their love bring clarity or confusion? Healthy love may not be perfect. There will be disagreements, misunderstandings, challenges. But beneath all of that, there is consistency, respect. Jung believed that relationships. Steve Harvey reminds us that love without commitment remains incomplete. When you combine those two ideas, a beautiful truth emerges. It is about choosing someone repeatedly through ordinary days. Do they encourage me to become my best self? Part 4. Turning love into a lasting relationship. How do two people keep love alive once they have found it? Carl Jung believed that love is not about finding a perfect person, but about two imperfect people growing together. Every relationship will face disagreements, disappointments, and difficult seasons. The strongest couples are not those who never struggle. They are the ones who choose to work through those struggles together. Steve Harvey offers practical advice that complements Jung's thinking. He often says that a man wants 3 things in a healthy relationship: to feel trusted, appreciated, and respected. In return, a woman wants to feel loved, valued, and emotionally secure. When both partners intentionally meet these needs, love grows stronger. Let's return to Thomas and Sanyu. A year after meeting, life was no longer just romantic dinners and exciting conversations. There were busy work schedules, family responsibilities, misunderstandings, and moments of stress. Yet something had changed. Instead of trying to win arguments, they tried to understand each other. Instead of keeping score, they looked for solutions. Instead of walking away when things became difficult, they sat down and talked. That is what mature love looks like. Jung taught that every person has a shadow, the hidden fears, insecurities, and weaknesses we often hide. A healthy relationship doesn't pretend those flaws don't exist. It creates a safe space where both people can grow beyond them. Thomas learned to communicate instead of shutting down. Sanyu learned to listen before assuming the worst. Little by little, trust became stronger than fear. And that is where lasting love begins. Remember the 8 signs we've explored. He gives you his attention. He makes time for you. He remembers the little things. He becomes emotionally vulnerable. He welcomes you into his world. He includes you in his future. He protects your peace. He remains consistent over time. These signs are not tricks or games. They are the natural expressions of someone who is emotionally invested. Most importantly, never settle for a relationship that leaves you constantly confused. The right person may not be perfect, but they will make their intentions clear through consistent actions. As Steve Harvey wisely reminds us, actions will always speak louder than words. And as Carl Jung taught us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. Learning to recognize. Healthy love helps you make wiser choices instead of repeating painful patterns. If Thomas and Sanyu's story has taught us anything, it is this: Real love is not found only in grand promises. It is built in small, faithful actions repeated every day. Thank you for watching this 4-part series. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the Love and Relationship Lab and help us grow. Your support allows us to continue researching the ideas of Carl Jung, Steve Harvey, and other great relationship thinkers, so we can bring you content that inspires healthier, happier relationships. Leave a comment below. Which lesson impacted you the most? And what topic would you like us to explore next? Until next time, remember, love is not just about finding the right person. It is about becoming the right person and growing together.